same. Good morning. We'll call the May regular meeting of the Board of Education Mitchell County to order, and ask the board to look over the agenda. And do we have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented? Have a second? Any discussion? All in favor of adopting the agenda, say aye. Aye. And if you'll stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'll remain standing for prayer. Heavenly Father, as we bow before you, we do thank you for this day you've given us. We're grateful again for the hard work of our faculty and staff, not only in presenting the educational materials, but also what our staff has done in providing the meals. We sincerely ask that your guidance and your protection, that our families throughout our county have the food that's needed, and you continue to strengthen. Father, this morning as we gather here, we ask for your guidance, your leadership. Again, we ask that you watch over so many of the situations in the homes, and Father, across our county, that you just put your hedge of protection around each one. This is asked in Christ's name. I don't know of any public input. We will also ask the board to look over the ethics statement, and if any of the board members have any conflict of interest, they present that this time. And then got 544. We don't have any public input to my knowledge, so we'll recognize Mr. Kevin for superintendent.
We'll start off as Ms. Hodgman present the graduation discussion that's been going on and some of the ideas that come up. Ms. Burleson has had finalized hers at the early college, and Ms. Hodgson, Ms. Gregory, Mr. Woody, and Dr. Franklin have worked on one at the high school, and they've got, I think, a great plan to present. So we'll ask her to do that.
All right, so I'll start with Mainland Early College. And so Stacy met virtually twice with her students and parents and gave them options to look at, and what the students and parents, administration and teachers ended up voting on going with is that graduation is going to be held for the early college on May the 21st. It's going to be at 6 o'clock p.m. and it's going to be in the parking lot with a drive-in ceremony in front of the Mainland Early College building. The drive-in ceremony, the students will remain in their car until their name is called. And when their name is called, they're going to be able to walk up to the stage to get recognized. The ceremony will be broadcast over the radio so that the parents can hear it in their vehicles. They will limit the vehicles that are coming, and first of all said one. I don't know if it's going to be one or two. They've got to make sure that it will fit in that parking lot area. And their rain date is May the 23rd. And so those are the two dates that they are looking at. So May the 21st being the regular scheduled, and if they need a rain date, it will be May the 23rd at 11 o'clock a.m. on the 23rd. So that's what they are planning. They have plans as well for cap and gown pictures to be taken, for the students to get their yearbooks, to take up all of their other materials and stuff, and have some awards days and virtually planned for the seniors as well. So that's what's going on in Mainland College. Mitchell High School, as Mr. Calhoun said, Jennifer and I met with Mr. Woody and Ms. Franklin Last week, a survey was sent out to the students and they were given options, and the options were to choose between a virtual graduation or a drive-in ceremony. And the students have been voting on that, and I think all of their results have to be back by today. As of yesterday, only half the seniors had responded, so it was really hard for us to look at what they had said and say that we had a majority choose one over the other. But looking at the virtual, it was, we will set a date, that will happen, and we can go through it. The drive-in, we looked at two different ways to make that drive-in possible. We could do a drive-in that appeared at the high school, and it could be around the circle at Mitchell High School. If we were doing that, and I know we spoke about it at the last board meeting, it would take about 5 minutes per kid. And so it would have to be split over 2 to 3 days in order to make that work. That it would allow parents to come on campus, see their child get recognized, and be able to go off campus and have more of a little bit of a traditional ceremony there. And then we would splice and put together a video for kids if that were the option that was chosen. We also have a second option for a drive-in ceremony. And this was at another location in Mitchell County. And so we could go on the grounds of that location and be able to have the graduates bring 2 different vehicles, a vehicle with them and their parents, and then a second vehicle that could have grandparents or other family members in it. So they would be limited to 2 vehicles. They would come onto the grounds of that location, and we would be able to have the kid get out of their vehicle and walk onto the stage to receive their diploma and then go back to the car. That way, all graduates could be at the same location where this was happening, and everyone could see everyone walk across the stage.
Is there a location chosen? There's not.
There is, but this hasn't been announced to seniors or anything yet, and so I think we would like to wait. Is that correct? Before.
So if the board wants to know, they can certainly have that right.
Leave it at your discretion.
I think Mr. Woody would like for it to be a surprise if it can be, and so that's kind of how we're going with that. But that, as I mentioned, that allows everybody to be there with 2 vehicles, allows them to walk across the stage and to all be in one location at the same time. We met yesterday with emergency management and met with the health department, and they approved all 3 of their plans. So if they go with the virtual, if they go with the drive-in at high school, or if they go with the drive-in at a different location, they approved the way that we set up all 3 of those plans. So that was great to know. And so based on the survey results that we're getting from the students, if it's virtual or drive-in that they are choosing as a majority, then we will go into that next stage of planning, and Mr. Woody hopes to make an announcement by Friday of this week of the way that we would go with that. There are also several other activities that are in the plans and works for the seniors. Tomorrow is a really big day at the high school. The students will be coming to pick up their cap and gowns. They'll be picking up their cords that they will wear at graduation. They're picking up awards. They're getting their yearbooks. They're turning in their computers. They're turning in key fobs. They're turning in books. They're, several stations. Plus, Mr. Woody is preparing as they leave. They can pick up either a breakfast or lunch that will be the way our food distribution has been working as they're leaving in the parking lot. The next week, there are going to be cap and gown pictures that they're going to be taken at the high school. We have a photographer coming in, and he's going to be able to take all the individual shots and put it together as a group shot. That group shot will then be used to be able to make some banners, and we're going to be able to put up some billboards as well with those pictures on it. And so that's exciting. And there are many other activities in the works for those kids to recognize them. And so we're making senior gift bags for them, and there are different groups that are donating items that will go in those senior gift bags for the students. We're looking at a parade for the students to be able to take part in that prior to graduation time. I think that's pretty much what we said that was being looked at. So that's how they were planning to recognize the graduates.
Yeah, when was the survey sent?
Was it Friday? I think it was Thursday or Friday of last week. I know there were several surveys sent out at the same time, and that was one of them.
The phone calls I received
was parents that didn't quite understand that their student would be walking across the stage.
Well, it's not a stage per se, you know, if we were doing it at the school, on campus, they were just gonna walk through the grass. We have not used a stage for graduation when we've had our graduations outside, and so it may not have included the word stage,
But they
because,
would be individually recognized.
Yes,
as
sir.
part of-
yes, sir.
Now, with this new site, we are going to have a stage.
Yes, the new site, we would be able to, I think, hit what we were hearing from our seniors is they were not able to have closure in, you know, being all together in one location. And the site that we have found would allow them to all be at that site together and would allow them to walk across the stage. So I think it would fulfill both of what the parents and the students would like to see occurring.
Still looking at the original dates for graduation.
It's a little bit different based on what happens, you know, if the drive-in happens at the high school, it's gonna be June 5th, 6th, and 7th. If the virtual ceremony happens, it's gonna be the 6th. If the other site happens, it's gonna be the 6th. So it's gonna be that weekend, but again, depending on how the choice that's made, it could change a little bit.
What I would like to ask the board for is to set aside a max or a budget of $10,000 out of our fund balance to provide Mr. Lee. We also offer this to Ms. Burleson, but she was fine financially. $10,000, up to $10,000 to rent the stage, to for decorations, for a sound system, for possible fireworks, or some of the other costs, you know.
Rental of the facility, which is
Rental of the
paid
facility.
liability insurance, yes.
Insurance, that kind of thing. So I'd just like a motion for the board to set aside $10,000 out of our fund balance for that.
We have a motion to set aside $10,000 for each high school graduation. Second. All in favor, say aye. Like,
Any other questions about, for Ms. Hodgson? We'll move down to item B, and that will be this year's school calendar. We did make some changes to finalize things out. We're looking at the 29th, with the last official school day, and the reason we moved it back a week, I know you all read the funding that you couldn't move it back, but we took spring break. And these other systems did not take spring break, so basically we're just shifting our spring break to the end, since we didn't have a spring break week. So we're going to end it up on the 29th for students in the one calendar, and the Stacy's calendar, she's got her end date there for graduation. Her coincides with the college schedule, so that's why with hers is a little bit different. But I do ask that you approve the modifications to these two calendars, and both of these calendars are on our website. And I'll have Ms. Gregory also share them through our communication, through our Facebook page. That also after you all approve them. If you want to look at them or have any questions, I'll be glad
and
to answer. Actually, I went backwards.
I
I didn't see,
clarify that,
sorry.
make sure that.
Yeah, we'll do item C, then we'll do item B. Sorry about
So any questions or discussion on item C, the Mount Leonard College or Mitchell High School, Mitchell Schools calendar for the 2019-2020 year? Have a motion to approve the calendar.
Make that motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item B is something you all have already approved as a draft calendar. And we did wait on the law that came out of the funding. The funding that became law had wordage in it that we have to have 190 school days next year. So I did have to modify that calendar. Before you all approve it or think about it, I just want to let you know that Avery County is looking at, they have 3 different options. One of them is the calendar that they did, what they call an early start last year. Right now, that calendar is not legal by this new law that the legislators put in for the funding. You can't do that. But they're also looking at a year-round calendar in Avery County. So that if that's something the board want to consider, they could. This would be my recommendation at this time. It is what the law says, the start date of August the 17th for students. It builds in 190 days. It also builds in 5 remote days, and then we could use 5 more of those days remote for inclement weather. So we could actually use 10 days for inclement weather. I did use 2 remote days pretty early. We used one at the end of the first 9 weeks because when they dedicated those 5 remote days, it actually took away teacher work days. So we went from teacher work days from 9 down to 4. When those 4, 2 of them have to be optional for teachers to take. The other 2 could be mandated, which we did the first day and the last day for teachers as mandated work days, and then the 2 optional right there at Christmas time. And then the 5 remote, we built in that day in October, which is the end of 9 weeks, that Friday, just give them time to do the grades while they're doing remote education. And then we did election day, just because we have so many issues. And I know the election board is looking at taking voting away from the school. I know they're working hard to do that. But until they do that, I think we have to build that day in. And that'd be a great remote day to do education about the election, the voting process, and how you register to vote, and having a good day to present all that. And then the next 3 I built in, I just put 1 at the end to use for a snow day, because we're just about guaranteed to have 1 snow day, I hope to say, or would think to say. And then the other 2, I put 1 on President's Day, which would be a great time to do remote education, teach about the presidents and things. And then I put the other 1 at the end of the third 9 weeks. And that could be floating because, with snow, if your 9 weeks moves. So that's how I built that calendar in. But it just meets the law. I mean, it's just basically what the law says. But now, if you all want to approve this one and then go back and reconsider something that Avery is doing, we can certainly do that, because the board does set the calendar. I know Avery's start date, if they do the year round, will be July 27th. Will be their start date.
What would they do, then have, go to school for 3 months or?
I can
Yeah.
share their calendars with you. Their superintendent shared it with me. I can certainly share those with you when you take a look at them. You're
In
still.
other words, year-round school.
You're still held 190 days, you're still held the same rules there, but it's just spread over a 12-month period.
My feelings are, I don't have a year-round school right now. I mean, teachers worked hard enough online, and y'all have too. I think you need a break. I think the system needs a break.
And that's why I recommend the traditional. But it's up to the board, but I recommend the traditional calendar.
Make a motion to approve the 2021 school calendar.
Second.
So all in favor, say aye.
Thank you. The state funding, just in the bill update, just want to give you all a little bit of update. I'm sure you probably read this, but there was $1.57 billion appropriated. 75 million of that went to school nutrition. 70 million of that went to summer learning programs, and that's what Christy has been thinking about, working on, planning about when and how we could do that. 30 million went to local school districts to buy computers for students. 12 million went for improving connectivity for students. 30 million went for computers or electronic devices for students. 5 million went for computers or electronic devices for school personnel. 10 million went for physical and mental health support and services for students. And 15 million went for grants to cost providing extended school year services for EC students. So those were some of the set asides. I know there'll be another bill coming down funding, because I think that's spent, don't quote me on this, I would say about a little over a third of what they got from the federal government. So I think there'll be another funding bill that will come down. In that same bill, that's why we talked about the school calendar. That's where they said the 190 days and 5 of those remote. There was a few little stipulations put in there that you couldn't do a remote ed day until after August the 24th. Even though we start the 17th, you couldn't use any of those beginning days as remote days. You probably wouldn't want to anyhow, but that's the way they built that in. We also have to have remote instruction plans are due to BPI on July 20th. That came in that law, and that's something that Christy and Casey are working on there too, and Stacy. But they did set the August 17th as the start date. There's no waiver for schools now. Used to we could start a week earlier than everybody else. basically everybody in the state will be starting August 17th. But for those systems that had a waiver, they allowed us to use 5 more days as remote days for evacuation. So instead of having 5, we basically had 10. I didn't build 10 in because you never know what those snow days are, but we can certainly say this is remote day, this is remote day, this is remote day during the snow season. We have a virtual learning plan requirement, healthcare and state health plan benefits were addressed in that. CPR graduation requirement was waived. Teacher evaluation and observation requirements were changed. Educational preparation programs were changed. Requirements of admission, internship, requirements for your credits, licensure, all those were basically just moved up a year. They addressed unemployment, giving us a teacher licensure. Tax relief was put in there for interest, where they moved it from April to July. They waived the interest. Testing waivers, school report card, low performing waivers, reach achieve waiver, advanced math placement, teacher performance, teacher effectiveness, school improvement plans were given a 6-month extension. So there were lots of things other than just money distributed that were put in this law that we had to do or were required to follow. So I can give you more details if you want any details about any particular item. I'll be glad to share that. I didn't go into details, but I can definitely share that. A couple, I would say, concerns is they didn't waive the K-3 class size requirement, so we will be held to that. So we'll have to look at our numbers to see where we're at there. That worries me a little bit in case you're 1 or 2 over. We've had, I tell you, we're looking at cutting some teachers to save money, and I say cutting teachers, cutting ones that retire, not sending anybody home. That worries me a little bit. We did get the 25% more funding for those special teachers like PE and art. That wasn't cut out, and I'll tell you that they were talking about cutting that. But the actual will be coming in, which helps us $50,000. So that's a good thing. But they do hold us to guidelines. What else, Christie, under there that we were concerned about? The summer reading, about what the governor's orders are at that time, and we have to do the summer reading for 3rd and 4th graders. We also have to look at kindergarten, 1st and 2nd graders and plan for them to bring them in the summer. But we still have to follow those governor's guidelines.
4th grade math too.
4th grade math was required. Also a test at the beginning of school
Beginning of 4th grade.
for 4th graders. It's not an EOG though. When we originally thought it was going to be an EOG, it's going to be some type of diagnostic. We might get guidance from the state board or from DPI on what that test is, or they might let us choose. They just haven't clarified or told us that yet. I think we'll get guidance. I don't think they're going to let us choose. More likely, we'll probably get guidance. It's going to be this type of test or whatever. But we don't know what it is right now. But that has to be given in the first 10 days of school. So those are some concerns.
Mr. Gilman, you mentioned summer reading program, and I know with the nutrition, the government takes some of that money from summer reading program to the nutrition. Is there looking at state funding to replace the summer reading program?
I think this funding it's not going to be the traditional count that we've had,
Yeah.
but we're going to be expected for teachers to identify those students in 3rd grade and 2nd grade that are struggling readers, and we have to figure out a plan to be able to bring them in maybe in small groups where we can social distance them and work with them during the summer. It won't be required, but we'll be asked to offer that to those kids to come in, and we'll have to figure out how we're going to do that. And what the government allows us to do. Now, we're all held to that standard because we are a state agency. We have to follow whatever his standard he says. So,
But regardless of whether it's, wherever that looks like, it's still going to cost funding.
it is, and I think they did the 70 million, which we should get. You think about what we got with the 50 million that the government, but we got around 300,000. This is 70 million, so I'd say probably 400. If they distribute it the same way, they haven't told us how they're going to distribute that, but they distribute it the way the government distributed his money, you're probably looking around $450,000 in some type of reading program. That money has to be expended by December 31st. And it cannot occur anywhere during the school day next year. So if we do this, it either has to be during the summer or after school next year. It can't be during the instructional day. That rule was put in there. So it either has to occur after school or it has to occur sometime this summer, which is pretty good funding if they distribute that way. That's pretty good funding for us. And we should be able to do quite a few things with that. Any questions y'all have on this? And I'm looking forward to seeing what the second round. I mean, there'll be a second round, and I don't know how much will be addressed in the education side of it or not, but there could be. And I think, just my opinion, I think with the second round, they'll address the reopening of school and try to help with some of those, whatever those guidelines will be. I think that's what we'll see. You know, that's the next item, if you want me to talk about that. Next year's reopening schools update. Right now, we don't know a whole lot. We've seen a base plan that has not been approved. I know there's lots of talk out there. In my opinion, I wish it was back to normal. We could open schools up and go with it. I don't know what it will look like next year. There's lots of rumors, there's lots of ideas out there from park people being remote, park coming to school, hack days, AV days. There's all kinds of things being floated around. There's nothing that's been approved. There's things out there. There will be sports, there won't be sports, there'll be sports without fans, there won't be. We don't know that yet. Nothing's been approved. I couldn't imagine having sports without fans. I couldn't imagine not having sports. I couldn't imagine not having field trips. I mean, that's something kids look forward to. They're very educational. They learn. I know I feel good about our remote learning and what we've done as teachers and staff and principals, but it's not like being in the classroom. I mean, you can say you're doing a great job of this, but it's still not like that kid and that teacher interaction in the classroom and with that social aspect that goes on. I mean, I'm sure with parents, I'm sure with kids, I know teachers and ourselves, it's mentally taxing because you want to be back to normal, and it is very stressful. It's very worrisome for parents. It's very worrisome for kids, and it worries us too. We'd love for it just to be back to normal. I don't know when we'll get there, but I'd love for it to be back to normal. That's everybody's wish. Yeah. I think when we do come back to normal, I think a lot of people will really embrace it and say, man, I don't want to go through this mess again. Because everyone misses it so bad now. I think it made everyone realize how bad they miss having those kids sitting in their classroom or being able to hug that kid or talk to that kid or listen to that kid. That's tough over a computer. It's tough doing that remotely. Some kids, like I said, have excelled with this, but there's lots of kids that struggle with this too. And I'm looking forward to that day we get back to normal. So as far as giving you an idea of what next year will look like, I don't know. Like I said, I've read some of these plans that are out there, but until I'm sure the governor will talk to the state superintendent and state board and they'll send us out guidance. And they're going to have to do it pretty soon because you have your sports that starts, I'm not sure exactly the start date, but so many days after school's out, as far as workouts and things like that. So they're going to have to tell us pretty soon. And I do have a meeting at noon today, and hopefully they'll give us some guidance in, and hopefully they'll start telling us when that's coming out. We'll take whatever it is, and we'll do the best we possibly can with it. But again, I hope and pray it's all back to normal, and this thing's forgotten about. That's where I want to be.
So it sure would be nice if CPI would agree to let county by county use your common sense and let the administration decide, and look at what's going on. I mean, what cases are per se, and this and that, and then use the social distance in any like Chad said, and I know y'all feel the same way, any interaction that you have, personal interaction you have, will be good, you know, for administration, teachers, board members too. I miss, you know, just the normal flow of things, and I know y'all do too. But if we could get, it's like you said, if we could, through the administration, once get a taste and use some common sense about what we're doing for each county. Of course, I don't know if that'll ever, if anybody even ever mentioned it, or if that governor will go along with it, but it seems crazy that you've got one county, you may have one county like Metro County that, I mean, you may have one case, you may have no cases, but good gosh, at least give you the chance to try and do what you know that's gonna help your sanity or whatever it is, you know, up over the board. But I guess I'm just talking from a wishful standpoint, but y'all know best, you know best, the county, CPI, I mean, y'all know what's going on, through what you've done, the education and feeding the kids, you know. When is somebody, you know, gonna speak up and tell that DPI down, look, you don't know what's going on in this county. So I'll shut up, I'll just say, keep my frustrations out, I guess.
Ready to do item F. Item F is, would like to ask the board, Dana Hallville and our ESL teachers have been working on a local ESL course. Mr. Woody has reviewed this course at the high school, and we've asked that you approve this. This is for students that possibly move into our county that are non-English speaking, just give them an opportunity to get this course under their belt before they move into more traditional courses. So it's down under the consent. We don't have to approve it right now, but I just want to see if y'all have any questions about that. And we are allowed to design local courses for credit, but it has to be board approved. So if you don't have any questions, we'll move on. And Mr. Pitt, I'll let you talk about Chris Ayers.
With Mr. Chris Ayers, and some of you may be aware, he is building a observatory over on Bear Creek. It's going to call it the Willis Observatory in honor of his in-laws. He is married to James and Jean Willis's daughter. You may have also seen some information out. He done a GoFundMe project, and he is wanting to mentor 4 Mitchell County students on how to do deep sky object astrophotography. He's been raising money through GoFundMe to provide scholarship opportunity for students. This is not necessarily anything that is related directly with any programming or curriculum within Mitchell County Schools. Would be separate. He just wants to identify 4 students. Want to share this with you just so you know what's going on there back door. The cost per student to do this is $250 each for a total of $1,000. He has asked, and this is his request, that the school system look at any donations they can make. They need 4 external storage drivers. The cost of those is $104 each, multiplied times 4 for a total of $416. And he wrote to the board. I think he sent an email to a few of us on the board with this request. But I wanted to make you aware and see if you had any discussion or any questions about the observatory, what he's doing there at Bear Creek. And if you didn't know about this project, that you'd be made aware of it. And I didn't bring it up for any action, but just a discussion and make you aware.
You said Wilson, was it?
Willis.
I thought you said Wilson, it was
Willis,
Willis, sorry.
James and Jean.
Right, James, yeah.
My understanding is the dedication for the observatory is going to be sometime in June.
Is it already been?
He's got most of it completed.
But it's $250 a student, you're just taking 4 students.
He's doing, working for students,
Like high school students.
yes. And my understanding is he's been able to raise that money, privately for those students, provide those opportunities. But just wanted you to know what was going on in the back door, because it's just across the ridge and right here in Rich County. So if you have any questions, Chris actually lives in Charlotte.
It was one of the medicines.
Ms. Hodgson, CTE.
So today Jennifer and I are going to spend a couple minutes recognizing some results from FBLA. So on, I think it was Saturday, we got results from the FBLA virtual competition. So the Future Business Leaders of America state competition this year was held virtually in April instead of the students being able to go to Greensboro to compete. So those kids who had performance tests were able to take those as a home site test. Those students who were doing a speaking event had to video themselves speaking and submit that to the state to be judged. And those groups that had team events also had to get together with social distancing guidelines and video their performance and submit that for grading as well. So that's what happened in April, and all of those projects and tests were graded, and those results came out on Saturday to the advisors. So Harris Middle School, and I'm speaking for Ella on behalf of this, Harris Middle School was planning to take 30-something students to the competition, and they all competed. They participated in team events, speaking events, and in written events. And the results were as follows. In business communications, Chloe Cook placed in 3rd place, and desktop publishing was a team event, and Maddox Burleson and Bryce Miller finished in 3rd place for that event. For parliamentary procedure, which was a test that was taken, Darren Heiss finished in 3rd place. We had top 10 finalists for business computer technology, which was Reagan Thomas. We had a top 10 finalists for computer slideshow, which was a group presentation, and that was Ashley Buchanan, Kedron Hughes, and Riley Carver. And we had a top 10 finalists for desktop publishing team event, which included Lydia Crosby, Kaylee Hollifield, and Chandler Gentry. And then we had a 1st place finish with their middle school, and that was in an event for critical thinking. And I'll talk to you a little bit about what those kids did. And the 1st place finishers for the critical thinking were my daughter, Brinkley Hodgson, Allie Johnson, and Ivy Young. And so they were the 1st place team finishers for Harris that represented that. And so what they had to do, were given a case study. And this case study, they had 15 minutes to prepare a presentation about that. And it had to go through the entire critical thinking process. So they had to cover the who, what, when, where, why, and how. Inside of their presentation, they had to identify the pros and cons of their solution. They were judged on how well the problem was understood and defined, their alternatives, that a logical solution was selected, that to demonstrate knowledge of critical thinking concepts, statements that they made had to be well organized, clearly stated, appropriate eye contact made, voice projection, gestures, and postures. And so that's how they were judged on their event. And what they are able to do is to compete for nationals. So in middle school, you have to finish in 1st place to be able to compete at nationals. And so these girls will be able to compete for national honors, but the national conference has also been canceled as a face-to-face conference. So nationals were supposed to be in Salt Lake City, Utah this year, but they are going to be virtual instead. And so these girls are going to be competing next Wednesday, May the 20th, and they will upload their video submission then to nationals. And they will not hear until July the 2nd how they did, and that will be the virtual award ceremony. But the kids will be able to take part in leadership conference type meetings that are virtual as well. And so they're going to be able to do that and to be able to sit for the award ceremony and opening session and stuff as well. So we're really excited about all these kids and their finishes, and we sent something onto the paper that should be there this week, and then those kids will be able to participate. So it was much cheaper for us to go to nationals this year. They only had to pay registration fees to be able to compete, but we're really excited about how they did and to be able to make that happen in these times. And that was a real bright spot for these kids to have something very positive happen in their lives right now. So Jennifer will share her high school results.
I second, having some bright spot in these kids. They were really excited about getting to do it, and then they were also excited about their results. So, I'll start with our freshman, Maggie Martin. She did Introduction to Public Speaking. The girl can speak like nobody's business. She is a rock star when it comes to speaking. She had her speech completely memorized. She had to videotape herself speaking, of course, in business dress. I watched it in awe because she did it on her own. I couldn't really help her much. She was amazing, and she won 4th place as a freshman, and so she's eligible to compete at nationals. Our senior, Allie Sudriff, and if y'all know Allie, she sells in everything she does, but she competed in an event called Future Business Leader. So she's up against cream of the crop, top-notch FBLA students. She had to send in a mock job application and a mock resume, and she sent that in. Then she got interviewed over video conference call in her suit. And she won 3rd place. And then finally, our team won 2nd place, Partnership with Business. And that was my own Jaden Barnett, Cassidy Gentry, and Isaac Holmes. And they had to submit a 15-page project, and they partnered with Shepherd Staff. And they sent that in a long time ago. And they won 2nd place. So they all 5 are eligible to compete at nationals, and so we're in the process of getting their paperwork sent in and their money sent in and all that. So
I also uploaded a picture, since we didn't have pictures to share, but there was one that I took of the group critical thinking, so it's on your drive to see them. But thank you guys for your support, and if you see any of those kids, let them know. Congratulations.
We're proud of our kids. They did a very good job, and it's exciting. It's sad they wouldn't got y'all sad in Salt Lake City. Just that experience would be nice too. It's good that they got the award. I think they'll do well national. I think we'll have some national winners. Because you listen to everyone that was mentioned there, they have the drive, the determination, the ability to take what they did remotely and do it on the national side too. So I think I'd be very surprised if we didn't have some national winners.
And also, Christy Autry's son, even though he's a Yancey County student, he competed and he won 2nd place in business concepts for the middle school. So,
Really?
Yes.
Christy, we turn it over to you.
Okay, good morning. I'm here this morning to provide an update for our end of year grading and promotion. So we did, in your drive, you do have the latest document from DPI. And so what I would like to do is first talk to you about K-8 and then pause for any questions, and then we'll address the high school. So for K-5, our K-5 students will not be receiving a final grade this year. Instead, teachers will provide year-end written feedback for students and families based on their learning this school year. Districts will decide what that format will look like, and I have spent majority of this week working on those templates for teachers to fill out. I've been sending those templates out to our principals and lead teachers to provide feedback, and then I'm going back in and kind of tweaking the documents as they suggest, and then that will be sent out hopefully tomorrow for teachers to begin that process. In this written feedback, we do have to address academic and social emotional feedback. And we are doing this 2 ways. We're providing one form that will go inside their cumulative folder. And that form is a little bit more detailed, and it's specifically for next year's teacher. So they can pull that form and they can see visually what that child was proficient at, what they were not proficient at, and that hopefully will give educators a starting point as we plan for how we're gonna catch these kids up next year. And that way we don't have to waste a lot of time trying to figure it out. We will know, we'll have that documentation. And then the parent form that will be sent will be just giving an overview of their academic and social emotional needs, and then strengths and areas to continue to work on. So for our middle school students, our 6-8 students will receive a final course grade of either a PC-19, which is a pass, or a WC-19, which is a withdrawal. Now, basically what a withdrawal means, it's not necessarily a fail, but it means that child did not demonstrate proficiency for the content for this particular school year. With that, our middle school teachers will also be providing year-end feedback based on the students' learning. And again, that is a format that we have to come up with, and that will be sent out to our teachers tomorrow to start that process. And we're doing it the same way as we did K-5. We'll have 2 forms. One form will go inside their cumulative folder, a little bit more detailed, standard-based, what they've mastered, what they have not mastered. And then there will be a parent form that goes home giving general outlines of strengths and areas of improvement, both academic and social emotional needs. Again, for our K-8 students, or for our 6-8 students, if they receive that WC, that doesn't mean they're going to be retained. That just means they're not proficient just yet in that particular area, and that will give us a definite starting point next year to make a plan to catch that child up. Our students that are in Math 1 in middle school, they are going to have a choice. They're going to either be able to select a PC or a numeric grade. But they really hold the same weight in middle school because that numeric grade will not be calculated into their high school GPA. The only difference is on their report card, it will be a numeric grade rather than a PC. And parents and students are going to be able to select which they prefer. So any questions about K-8? Okay. For our 9th, 10th, and 11th graders, they have 2 options. They can select a numeric grade, and if they do select that numeric grade, that will represent their learning up to March the 10th, okay? So what we're doing is we are taking what they've done during remote learning, we're averaging that in with what their first half of the semester looked like. If that average is higher than what they had as of March 10th, then we'll give them the higher grade. If that average is not higher than what they had March 10th, then they will receive the grade they had as of March 10th. We cannot hold students harmless during this remote learning time at this point in time, so they will be receiving the higher grade of the 2 if they select a numeric grade. They can decide that they want a PC. And a PC is basically a simple pass. The difference between the 2 is the numeric grade will be calculated into their high school GPA. The PC will not. It will give them the high school credit, but it will not be calculated into their GPA.
What does PC stand for?
It's just a pass. Yeah. If high school students receive a WC, which is a withdrawal, basically that means that they are not going to receive high school credit for that course if they receive a WC. Okay. And we have some choices on how we can provide that for our students. So if they receive a WC, we can do a course recovery, or they can retake that course. So there's some choices there too. Any questions about our 9th, 10th, and 11th graders? And then for our senior policy, that was adopted back in March the 27th, and so it remains the same. It's a PC or WC, and the state's biggest thing with that is they just want to make sure our seniors graduate and move on with their future. So that's all I have.
You want to brag on all our central office staff, how far they're working and what they've done, but I guess I could say Christy's had the most moving targets. We'll listen to a webinar one week and they'll say this, and the next week it'll be this, and she's had to go back and reboot and replan, and she's done a good job of meeting with not just her making decisions, but she's had teachers that are involved, principals are involved, and just meeting basically on a weekly basis to change things. So hopefully get this nailed down. And then even the summer plan she's thinking about, I mean, that's a moving document too, because we don't know what stage we're going to be in at that time, what's allowed, are the buildings going to be open, can we use the buildings, and that kind of thing. So it's just sort of just playing on the fly, isn't it, Chrissy? So,
Yes, yeah. We're just trying to go with the flow, so doing what's best for our kids.
Mr. Hughes?
All right, what I have for you today is, it's called TSI plans. And what these are is, under the old system, this used to be like focus school information, but it's renamed, it's been renamed since 2018. And what TSI stands for is Targeted Support and Improvement. And we have 3 schools that are Highland schools that are identified under this. They're Harris, Stooge, and Bowman. And what it is that they have a subgroup which is kind of underperforming. And this is across the state. We know that's students with disabilities across the board is an area where a target that we've been working on, and it's to try and get those improved. So each year they have to develop a plan of interventions or strategies and things that they have done. And this was for this year that we've worked on. And next year we'll be coming up with a new plan because it looks totally different probably when we get back into the remote learning. So if you look at these plans right here, and I'll use Bowman's for an example, like this year, all the top part up there, if you look at it, those were all workshops and things like that that they sent teachers to train and work with EC students and all students. This is not, you gotta work with your EC students, but you also gotta work with the other student groups to keep them up too, because if you let one group go down, that keeps your category. We stay in this category for a minimum of 3 years. They're reevaluated every 3 years. I don't care if we knock the top off of it next year, we're gonna be under this category until they redesignate these distinctions. So we're under this for 3 years, and then we'll be revising these plans and these intervention plans each year. If you look at the interventions they put in there, like for Gillingham, you'll see that across all 3 schools. You'll see that there's tutoring in there. You'll see there's corrective reading, there's word mapping, there's behavioral support, and all these plans to try to help these students be able to maintain and help develop growth. They have put in intervention schedules for students to give them extra support. If you look in there, like Harris has a second resource time in there for EC students to get extra support for there. Also, they have extra tutoring in here involved for these students. And this is what these plans are. If you've got any more questions on those, just I'll be glad to answer them more in depth if you want to. If not, I just need approval for the TSI intervention plan that we've had in place this year.
Any discussion on TSI plans? Have a motion to approve the TSI plans for Gooch, Harris, and Bowman.
Make that motion.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Can I give one update? I know this mentioned earlier about the food. So we're continuing to maintain the food sites or our community sites or businesses and our school sites. Like yesterday, we keep a running spreadsheet of what we go out. And this was just off buses yesterday. We gave out 464 units. What that means in a unit, that's a breakfast and a lunch. we're not just at community sites, and that's what counts school sites. That's a totally different number. But just off of buses yesterday, 464 units that went out through those community sites for food, just to kind of give you an update of what those numbers are looking like each day. We're averaging well over 425, 450 daily on those sites. So we are maintaining those, and bus drivers and cafeteria folks are really.
What's the total, like a day?
I have the total of, Heather keeps the school sites on there, I have those, but I
We
would say
down for it.
we're on 900,000. So it's gonna give you that level where we're at with that. Thank you.
Follow up a little bit of what Mark said, I followed the bus down Mine Creek yesterday, just didn't tell what all this takes. They would make stops, just like they did the bus stop when in Mine Creek, get their flashers on, blow the horn. The parent or the kid would come out on the porch, they'd walk up and sit in the driveway, and the person they got off the bus had the mask and gloves on. And they wouldn't walk, they would actually run up there and sit down and run back on the bus. So whoever that runner was, I'm sure they got their workout yesterday. That's what, I think it was Randy Pitt.
It was.
He was getting his workout yesterday. This Randy Pitt. He was getting his workout yesterday.
I might need to do it.
Yeah. But we do appreciate what they're doing.
And you know, we have a lot of teachers that have, like when we have drivers out, we got a lot of teachers that hold CDL license that are coming in and helping us pick up. We have a day when we're short a driver, and, you know, it is a community effort by the school system for everybody. You know, it just makes you feel good that you've got this caliber of people working this hard.
Mark, what about Chad mentioned last meeting we had, what about the extra, Chad mentioned maybe the state capital.
And Danny's working on that.
Danny's working on
Yeah, yeah. But there will be minimum of $3, but it may be a little bit more actually. Yeah, he's working on that. They will be getting. Mr. Chairman, if it'd be okay if we move item 10 closed session down to the end to 12, we're going to do item 11 because we have the personnel to discuss.
Yes.
That's okay. We're going to do 11.
Go
consent
ahead,
items.
consent items. You have the minutes presented there in your document on the drive. And also, as we had discussed earlier this morning, the Mitchell High School ESL new members course for elective credit. Do we have a motion to approve the consent items? A second? All in favor say aye.
And then item 12, the announcements. This will be a little bit different than what's on your printing copy. Now, Mr. Pittman goes back to work in June, so we will not be able to do the 9 o'clock meetings anymore. Just wanted to see if it was okay with the board to go back to our normal scheduled time, Thursday, June 11th at 5:30. We'll also still, I assume we'll still be doing that virtual. We may not be. We may have be able to open it up at that time. Is that okay with the board to go back to normal time? And then we'll set a new schedule for next year at that meeting too.
My paper says Juneteenth.
Yeah, but I found that, I got confirmed this week, we're going to teach classes this summer, traditional.
Okay, so tell me, it was in June 11th.
It'll be June the 11th at 5:30 p.m. That's a Thursday.
Okay.
And then we just need to go into closed session just for 1 or 2 student issues, and that will not be voted on in open session. So,
Have a motion to move the board into executive session. Second. All in favor say aye.